Internet! My name is Catherine Barstonistis, and you are watching The Gluttonous Geek Presents Munchies and Minis, a show where I cook some kind of snack, meal, or whatever inspired by a tabletop role-playing game, and then work on painting a mini. This is also another very long episode, so we may not be painting minis, but that's okay. Today we are going back to Pathfinder RPG to make a recipe inspired by the Dalliance restaurant in the country of Uskat. I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is Uslav. Yes, Uslav in the Pathfinder universe is very similar to kind of the Curse of Strahd sort of stuff in D&D, where it's the very Gothic, Victorian sort of style Romania or Eastern Europe. So basically, oh lord, it's Dracula kind of esque. Being half Romanian, I thought that I would have a little bit of insight on the cuisine there. Not too much, considering that I'm third generation, but you know, a little bit. And the Dalliance restaurant, however, is owned by Vito Caldoveri, a Taldan chef from Taldor. So coming up with this recipe, considering that according to like pretty much all of Pathfinder lore, there's not really any particular recipes or dishes listed in the current supplements that I've found. However, it does make a note that the menu changes pretty much from either night to night or from week to week. Very similar to how a lot of farm fresh type restaurants and really kind of upscale restaurants work here. So we're going off of that kind of mindset, sort of a Taldan sort of take on local seasonal cuisine. So around this time of year, it's getting to be about springtime, so I figure a lamb dish would be very appropriate, and also considering that the late Byzantine Empire, lamb was enjoyed very much only by the upper class, which seems very fitting to a restaurant owned by a Taldan in Ustgard. With that, we're going to be adapting a Romanian dish, mamaliga, which is just, you know, it's a Romanian version of polenta, and we're going to be making a creamy herbed polenta, i.e. mamaliga, to go along with our rack of lamb. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, sweet. Yes, Monica Delmico says, your apron, I have the Slytherin one. Yes, I am a Ravenclaw, or rather a Ravendor. Yes, my little percentage test had me Ravenclaw, followed by Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and then Slytherin. Nothing against any of the particular houses. I just happened to, you know, boldly go while being incredibly weird at the same time. And yeah, the whole extrovert with social anxiety. Oh, hi. Let's see, Overwatch 0904 Joel says, hi, hello, Overwatch. Right, I should actually get to cooking. So, what you're going to need for this recipe, and it is a very simple one at that, and it only doesn't seem that way because we're using ingredients like rack of lamb and everything. The majority of the places you're going to find rack of lamb are already going to trim this for you. I get this at Costco. It is ridiculously inexpensive at Costco. To give you an idea, this is 1.5 pounds of lamb. It is only $14.20. I got it super on sale. It's normally around $13.99 a pound. I managed to get it for about $9 a pound. Heck yeah, great for me. I got it on sale. Just stick it in the freezer and let it thaw out whenever you feel like cooking it. So first we're going to be needing to make our marinade, and it's going to be a very brief marinade. Ideally, you want to go for about, say, 4 hours at least on your marinade. However, for demonstration purposes, I'm only going to be doing it for the amount of time that we're going to be allowing our oven to preheat. So that is why it is crucial that we get our marinade done as quickly as possible, just so I can get that flavor and have an idea of where I'm going with this. So first I'm just going to grab a tiny little mixing bowl because I really don't need that much room for what I'm about to make. And switch to our prep cam here. So a big thing in Byzantine cuisine is the use of fish sauce, i.e. Garum, which interesting thing about Byzantine cuisine, it is sort of the merger of ancient Greek and ancient Roman cuisine, and a big thing in Roman cuisine, especially in the upper classes, was the use of garum, which the process to make it is rather gross. I'm not going to describe it to you. Just go ahead and look it up if you feel like it. The closest you're going to get in this modern day era is Asian fish sauce, which you get in a lot of Thai food and cuisine. It smells like fish. However, you will recognize it if you're used to eating any kind of Thai curry. You will, the sauce, the curry itself will not taste quite the same without that kind of salty bite of fish sauce. You need it. It's required. However, the Byzantines absolutely loved it. They also used honey and sugar and spices and a little bit of everything, but the biggest thing was the use of fish sauce on practically every single meat item that they had. So we're going to be using that. So in our marinade, we're going to be using stuff that would make sense to the region. And let me just grab some measuring cups out of here while I am thinking about it, because otherwise I'm just going to be running back and forth the entire time while doing this. So we're going to start out with our olive oil. You're going to need about 1/4 cup of olive oil. I'm just going to move my mouse there. 1/4 cup. And the thing is, fat is essential to cooking because it acts as your flavor carrier. If you don't really feel like you're getting the flavors that you were planning on using in your dish, add a little bit of fat. Fat is flavor. It will marry all of those ingredients together. So I've got my olive oil in there. To that, I need 2 teaspoons of fish sauce. Teaspoon, holy teaspoon. Okay, here we are. So, 1 and 2, and you're going, oh, well, that's really not that much compared to what else you have in there. Trust me, a little bit of fish sauce goes a long way. So, to that, especially since a lot of Eastern European cooking, and I don't mean just the Mediterranean style, I'm talking more of all the various influences you had coming into there. Especially in Romania, mustard is a big thing. It's one of the few condiments they have. They're also growing naturally, and it kind of shows the melting pot style of cuisine that you have in Romanian cooking. Because that's the thing about Romania, and I can attest, half Romanian, I get to hear sort of the, what's it called, rundown of, how Romania is a melting pot. Well, it all started with the Dacian Empire, and then the Dacians were invaded by the Romans. And the Dacians were like, we don't want to be Roman. Oh, wait, what's this? It's wine? Oh, okay. We're Roman now. So, just to kind of keep on going. So, the Turks are, the Visigoths are here. The Visigoths are here. We're all Visigoths. Wine? And just every single time they would be getting invaded, which, oh yes, the Huns are here. We're all Huns. Wine. And then, the Turks are here. The Turks are here. We're all Turks. Wine. You don't drink wine? You don't want me to drink wine. I don't think this is going to work out. And thus, Vlad the Impaler killed many, many people. So, yes, Romania is kind of a culmination of multiple centuries, probably millennia of invasions. So you have a little bit of everything mixed into their cuisine. So, yes, considering that they were invaded by several Germanic tribes, mustard is a thing and definitely part of your cuisine. So, I've got some stone ground mustard here. I'm just going to be adding about, how much should I have? Yes, a tablespoon of mustard. So, just going to pour that in there, kind of eyeballing it. I mean, don't have to go precise. That's the thing about cooking. It doesn't really have to be stupid precise. To that, I am adding some honey, which I may have to melt a little bit more because my honey crystallized. Fun fact, honey does not spoil. It does solidify though, so you have to kind of work with it. Probably, in my case, microwave a little bit more to make sure that it can go into a spoon. So let's just... I already started the process before I started, but sometimes you just have to keep working with it. Oh, goodness. But yeah, speaking of wine, if I go back to Byzantine culture, one of the things that's very popular in Byzantine culture, considering that it's sort of a trade hub where it's at, was Greek wine, specifically Cretan. And I don't mean an idiot, I mean from the island of Crete. The Cretan wine Muscat, which there's not really that many varietals left of this particular grape, but a very similar flavor, which we're going to be using in our sauce later, Moscato. So a nice sweet Italian wine, even though this is from California. You don't have to go for authenticity here. This is the cheapest bottle of Moscato that I could find that wasn't, named after a piece of, human anatomy or a shoe. So, right, as you see, I've got a tablespoon of honey. I'm just going to add that. Probably should have. Well, I need to stir it anyway, so we'll just use this. All right. Cool. And see, that is the ingredients of our marinade. So I'm just going to mix that all together in this bowl. Or if you don't feel like dirtying up a bowl, you can just put it directly into the Ziploc bag that we're going to be putting this in. But we're not going to worry about that for now because I still need to unwrap the lamb and put that in there. And it's just a little bit easier for me to not have to clean up as much mess. So, right. I'm just going to unwrap this real quick. You need a rack of lamb roast, at least about a pound, and I want to say like 1.4, 1.3 pounds at least. You want to go a little larger, especially if you're feeding a large group of people. This recipe should feed about 4 to 6 people, depending on how hungry you are. However, you want about 8 to 10 ribs. Don't ask me how I know how many ribs a lamb has, because I don't fully know that. Here, I will even count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ribs. We're good to go. So I'm just going to cut this out of its plasticky package with a knife I don't plan on using for the rest of the evening. Steak knife it is. Taking care not to damage my lamb, at least trying to, while I am at it. Usually helps to keep one hand clean as you're doing this, especially once you have to open up your bag. The thing about this, and this particular packaging has an inner package and also a little thing to soak up excess blood. But don't worry too much about cleanliness with red meat, because the nice thing about lamb and beef and all those red meats is that this particular type of muscle fiber does not have bacteria penetrate it nearly as easily, say, as chicken. I mean, this is slow twitch muscle fiber as opposed to fast twitch muscle fiber. I just have to get all that packaging out. and wash all this gunk off my hands. So that is why you're able to enjoy things such as, you know, a rare steak. Because you're cooking the parts that help build up that beautiful browning-Maillard reaction flavor. But you're also cooking the parts where bacteria would actually, you know, penetrate, which it's really not all that far. As long as your beef is incredibly fresh and not contaminated along the way, you should even be able to eat it raw. That's why things like carpaccio and beef tartare are so popular. All right, hands are clean. So now that I've got that ready to go, let's go ahead and put our marinade into the bag with our lamb. Okay. Let's try to manipulate this so I can have this be able to cover as much of the meat as possible. And also a big thing is you see this fat cap here, you usually want to trim it of the excess fat and silver skin. I'm not seeing too much on here, so I'm not going to worry about that step so much. However, if it happens to be incredibly thick and you have that kind of membrane just covering everything, you will want to trim that. So I've got that. I've got my marinade vinaigrette thing without actual vinegar in it. And I'm just going to pour that in to my bag. And then you just kind of want to, well, I don't really need that anymore. Or do I? No, I don't. It goes into the sink. So, I'm just going to push the majority of the air out of this bag. And then kind of manipulate all of this to coat it as much as possible. And then I'm just going to try to get the majority of the marinade onto the bottom here to let it soak in mostly into this side, because as you can see, that is where the majority of our meat and flavor carriers are. So yeah. So if you happen to be cooking, well, tomorrow, this is when you would put it into the fridge and let it marinate for at least 4 hours to overnight. Since we're not going to have an episode that long, I'm just going to set this off to the side at room temperature to let it soak and do its thing. Kind of penetrate the meat some. And then I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to about 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so while I'm waiting to do that, this is a very good time to go ahead and start prepping all of your other ingredients. So let's go ahead and start doing that. Just do all the measuring and prepping and put stuff in bowls. So what else we're going to need? Oh, I forgot to get the olives. So I'm trying to kind of blend a little bit more of our Eastern European flavors with our Greek flavors, our Mediterranean flavors. So I've got a crap ton of Kalamata olives here. They're already pitted, though I will show you how to remove the pits. Thing is, these don't have to be all pretty nice slices. What we're going to do is that we're going to crush them and then chop them up so they can kind of meld with that sauce that we're going to be making later. So we've got that. I've got a giant hunk of fresh dill, which another thing with Eastern European and Mediterranean cooking, dill is usually associated with joy and happiness and new beginnings and all that. And it's also a very spring herbal flavor. So that's also why we're going to be using that. No, we're not going to be using this much. This is just how much I get for a single bundle at Buford Highway Farmers Market. God, I love that store. No, I'm not sponsored by them, though I wish I was. So, we've got our dill, got some more measuring to do, as well as our cheese. Our polenta is going to have Well, our recipe is going to have feta cheese. I did not have time to go grocery shopping right before I decided to add cheese to it. However, we've got plenty of cojita left. It's got a similar flavor to feta as well as a similar consistency to it as well. So we're going to put that in there. And got our cornmeal. Yes, I know cornmeal is a New World item. If you're going by a lot of, if you want to go really back into history, polenta, or even the case like the cousin of Mamaliga, goes back all the way to the Etruscan Empire. It was not made with sweet corn, though. No, it was made with pretty much any grain they had on hand, usually millet. I know that most American grocery stores does not have millet, and it's not exactly part of our standard familiar palate. So go with the cornmeal. You'll thank yourself. So we're gonna do with that. And we're going to be adding some milk to that, which I do not have milk, I have heavy cream. So I will also teach you a conversion in case if you have a big thing of heavy cream and you need milk. It happens. So for a recipe. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting some Pret bowls out to measure all of these things out. Just to simplify things, and so we don't have to think about it while we're waiting for stuff to preheat. Just gotta have to keep productive as we go. So, right, for the rest of our lamb recipe, I'm going to need half a cup of Caldoveri olives, 2 tablespoons of butter that can stay in the fridge, and the Moscato. Let's go ahead and get our Moscato opened up. You will need about a half a cup of this. So, like I said, I went with El Cheapo, but it's still a better rated El Cheapo than, say, some kind of wine that's been named after something that's your foot, or something that's been on your foot. I never really understood the whole naming wines after feet, or things on your feet. Is it because the wines kind of remind you of feet while you're eating them? I don't know. So just using my crazy airline stewardess style corkscrew here, so I don't have this exploding all over the kitchen. I'm gonna go ahead and use that 1/4 cup measuring cup because it's only had olive oil in it. And it's all gonna go into the same spot anyway, so just need to measure that out. So half a cup. So half a cup of Moscato. Then I'm going to need half a cup of Caldoveri olives. And go ahead and just measure that out. Like I said, a lot of this is going into the same stuff, so I'm not too worried about cross-contamination. So I'm just going to measure those out for now. Though I am going to have to worry about cross-contamination for the container itself. So, new spoon. There's a 1/4 cup. And a half a cup. And a tiny little bowl for me to snack on. Because I love olives. Yes, I know I'm weird. Get over it. I mean, come on. A Ravenclaw. So. Get a toothpick to eat things with, or some chopsticks to eat things with, so I don't contaminate my workspace anymore. Oh, I only have to use one. Yeah. Haha. Freaking love olives. There we go. Okay. Our oven's preheated. But no, we're still gonna measure, because I want to give that lamb a little bit more time to let stuff soak in. So, next up on our list of things to measure, you're gonna need a 1.5 cups of cornmeal, which may or may not fit into this bowl. We shall see. So, got our cornmeal here. Yeah. Right, I'm gonna need another spoon. There's one, 1/2 cup. Just need 2 more of those. Yeah, I know, I'm not being exact. It's kind of going everywhere. It's fine. Fine. Okay. 2. And... 3. Cornmeal. That's measured. And you're gonna need about how much feta did I mark down? A cup of feta. Let's see if we have that much. We shall soon see. There's 1/2 cup. And oh my gosh, we perfectly have a full cup of cheese. Woot! Okay, cool. So I'm just going to stack that because that's the order I'm using it in. Smear cheese all over my board because that's how I do. Cool. Toss that. And then I have the things I need to chop. So that would be the olives and the dill. So I'm gonna just pull out a cutting board. I think we're gonna only need 1 tonight. So carving board it is. But first, just gotta clear off my workspace just a little bit. So, that paper towel. Cool. So, carving board. And do I need these things anymore? All right, I also need to measure out my milk/cream thing, which that we will do in a larger measuring cup as soon as we finish with this bit. So, first I'm just gonna go ahead and get my dill chopped up. So I'm just gonna take a handful of that as well as my chef's knife. And folks, here is a quick way to learn how to hold a knife properly. First, you take the index finger of your dominant hand, you put it right here up against the blade. Follow that by your thumb right across, still on the blade, and then comfortably, yes, comfortably wrap your fingers around the handle. And as you see, I'm not perfectly pinching this, that's fine. I still have complete control of the knife. So, now I've got that, I'm just going to slice in a rocking motion, as you see, like I'm doing there. Maybe if I switch to the tripod camera, you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Just kind of watch down towards the bottom of your screen there. I'm doing this kind of rocking motion. So let's go back to our prep cam. You can see what I'm doing. Gathering it together and giving that a nice rough chop right there. Okay, so you're gonna need this for 2 applications, but ultimately you want a 1/2 cup. So I'm just going to get that in there. Looks like we're gonna need a little bit more, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit more fresh dill and repeat where I was. So giving that a chop. There we go. Cool. So just going to stick that into another prep bowl. Which I think I only need this one here, so we'll just use that. So total, you will want a ½ cup of fresh chopped dill. Cool, so now the dill is chopped up. Now I can move our olives to our board. Now, like I said, these olives are pitted, so you're not gonna need to worry about pitting these. However, if you wanna save some money, that's perfectly fine. Get yourself some Caldoveri olives that still have their pits in them. The way you get them out easily without using a funnel bottom or whatever little weird kitchen gadget, chef's knife. Like, you kind of hold this over the edge of your board and just press lightly to flatten your olive. It should break apart around the pit, and just discard the pit. So, as you see, I mean, mine are already pitted. However, I also need to chop them. And the easiest way to chop something, like this, is to have a stable, flat surface. And how do you do that? You press them. You crush them. So, just like you would with a garlic clove. And now, just going to give that a rough chop. It doesn't have to be perfect, because this will actually be going in towards the end of our recipe as we're making our sauce, to add some flavor to our wine sauce, a little bit of a salty, briny flavor to go along with our fresh dill. Should be excellent, I think. Okay. Just gonna scrape that to the side while I continue chopping up the remainder of our olives. So, just gonna grab them here. Give them a press. Trust me, they'll be a lot easier to chop if they had pits in them to begin with. Just make sure you remove those pits before you start trying to chop them, because the whole process of pressing the pit out crushes them even finer, making this process just that much easier. Don't have to chop nearly as much. But I thought, oh, well, I'll just save some time. Nope, my mistake. Fine with me, though. I mean, we've got plenty of time still here, because we're doing all of our prep ahead of time. So, once again, press, flat, and chop. I really need to get one of those anti-slip mat things. By the way, if you are interested in cooking what I am cooking tonight and don't want to have to spend 2 hours taking notes, I have recipe cards available for my Patreon and Ko-Fi supporters. Ko-Fi, the recipe will not be up for a few more weeks, but Patreon, I get out as soon as I finish the recipe card. So I think I'm only about, I want to say, 1 recipe card behind right now on Patreon. However, Patreon, you also get access to all of my Munchies and Minis recipes. Now, granted, the video is free to watch at any time. I always post up the archive videos on my YouTube channel. And as you see on Facebook, Facebook keeps them. So there you go. Twitch, however, automatically deletes them. I do save the highlights now as in the whole recipe. But if you want something to read without having to take notes, Patreon is usually a good way to go. Not to mention, you'll also get the chance to vote on the next episode. This one was not voted by my subscribers because I did not have time to put up a poll this week, and I've had this idea for quite a while. So, right. Just going to move our olives back to our prep bowl. And I think we are done chopping things for now. We're still going to have to cut some things a little later. Those things being our finished polenta as well as our finished lamb. However, since we don't really need that right immediately now, I'm going to go ahead and move our cutting board and chef's knife to another location. There's still one more thing that we need to measure out, and that is our milk. Or with us, that just happens to be our heavy cream and water. So, you're going to need a measuring cup. It's going to be about, you're going to need about 3 cups of milk total, if you are taking notes right now. For our conversion, it's basically going to be a half and half range. So we're going to be doing a cup and a half of heavy cream mixed with a cup and a half of water. I mean, granted, feel free to do the whole thing in heavy cream. However, it's going to be very rich and very heavy if you do that, not to mention kind of expensive. So let's just work with what we have. So just going to pour this here. I think that's pretty much almost all of our cream. There's like about, that sounds like about a 1/4 cup of cream left. So, and then I've already reached, as you see, I've already reached the cup and a half mark right here. I'm just going to fill up to the 3 cup line with water. Now don't worry about having to, well, you are going to have to worry about it foaming up on you. I'm just going to stir that to get the foam to go down so I can see if we have enough liquid. And we do. That is perfect. Cool. So, that's going to go to the side. And now we're going to move on to our next step in our recipe, because that is all the measuring, or at least the majority of the measuring we're going to have to do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the stuff into the sink, clear off our workspace, which is necessary because I only have 1 prep cam, 1 stove cam, and so much space. So, though, no, be good, be good. You don't have to pour yourself a glass of wine, especially when this is your dinner tonight. Make sure to save it for your husband. It's okay, it's okay. But, yeah. That said, this is when you start cleaning up your space. You don't need your mustard or your fish sauce anymore. It can go in the fridge. You don't need your heavy cream anymore. That can go in the fridge once I figure out where the heck I put it. There it is. Okay. And I might make myself a cocktail in a wee bit. Don't need any more fresh dill, even though I might use that for a little bit of garnish in a minute. Or at least on the plate. So, no AVG. I don't want to start a free trial of crap. Go away. Gosh. However, because that's not until once this dish is actually finished, I'm going to stick that back in the fridge. Alright, what else can go away? The cornmeal can go away. The honey can go away. The olive oil, well, that can go off to the side. It's not going away. It's just, it's taking a nap. So, here we go. All right, and now I have room. I can actually move a lot of the stuff I don't need quite yet off to the side. which you'll see why. Oh, I don't need the olives anymore. That can go back in the fridge. Okay. Ah. Holy crap, that actually landed. Opening side up. Yay! Durka. All right. Do I need these? I do not. They can go into the sink. So can you. Did I use you? I did not. Therefore, you can not go in the sink. You're going up here. Yes, I know. It's so riveting watching me clean my kitchen. I know. So, well, I wasn't using those anymore anyway. Okay. However, since the floor is gross and I just touched the floor, it's time to sing Happy Birthday twice in my head. Or, you know, Lizzo's Good as Hell chorus, or I don't know, recite Lady Macbeth's soliloquy. All of which I'm not really sure if I remember all the lyrics to. Maybe even Happy Birthday. Huh. All right. I think that was about right. All right. Meh. Okay. Cool. So our oven is preheated, and that means we need to prepare our pan for things. Delicious things. So what you're going to need is a baking sheet. One preferably with a wire rack like so. Since we are going to be saving the drippings to go into our sauce, I want to line this with aluminum foil, which is right here. Okay, good. I still have the sound going. And I'm just going to create kind of a little tray. I might actually double line this. It's not going to take up all of our space, this rack of lamb. But I still want to catch those drippings without it tearing through. And also, I'm kind of lazy, so I don't want to have to try to stuff this giant pan into my dishwasher later. So this also keeps you from having to take up your entire dishwasher with this pan. So I'm just creating a double layer trough there for our lamb ribs. Especially since this pan is rather large. Smaller pan, I wouldn't have to worry about that. So, yeah, that probably did not work at all. We'll make it work. It'll work. Okay. So, I'm just gonna coat that grill a little bit with some cooking spray. And next, you know that rack of lamb that I was marinating earlier? That goes directly onto the grill. Yeah, get back here. Dang it. Okay. However, you don't want to discard this bag of marinade because it will be going into our sauce. So, you see, I have this ready to go on our grill. However, I also want to season it first. So, first, I'm just going to flip this sucker over and hopefully not have it slip out of my hands. And take your clean hand and season the back of it liberally with some kosher salt. Get that edge there. And I think my pepper grinder is around here somewhere. Or even better, I've got a thing of ground pepper that I don't have to clean my hands to access. So just gonna season that side too. And now I'm gonna flip it. There we go. Once again, liberally season the other side as well as little end pieces with kosher salt. You're thinking, oh, that's too much salt. Don't worry about it, because what we're doing tonight is a reverse sear method, where we're first going to bring it up to temp into the oven, and then we're going to sear it in a cast iron. So a lot of that salt is going to go into the pan itself, and also it's kosher salt. That's the nice thing about kosher salt. It is a lower salinity than table salt. It dissolves quickly, and therefore you can salt like a mad person and not have to worry. Also, normally when I do roast lamb, like I said, I'm doing a new version tonight. I would also cover the ribs so they don't get burned. However, at such a low temperature, right now we're at 225 degrees Fahrenheit, you're not going to need that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get that in our oven. But first, I'm going to clean my hands. My hands have mustard on them. All right. Cool. Okay. So, now if you had a thermometer, like a oven thermometer with an internal probe, I would say at this point you want to put it in there with the probe face going this way or that way, with the end of the probe going towards the center of the meat. I don't have a probe that works though, so we're just going to rely on faith. You want it to be about at least 30 minutes in the oven, so we're just going to stick that in there. We're going to stick that there a little higher and set our timer for about 30 minutes when we will check on it. So, now that we've done that, I'm just gonna push this up on my face. I can put my pepper away because I'm probably not gonna need it anymore. And this is where we start doing a little bit more prep work, kind of. So remember that bag of marinade we got? Still a lot of good liquid in there, right? So I'm just gonna take that half a cup of Moscato, pour that in there. Next up, I'm going to add a third cup of water. And this is where I decide whether I need any more of that. So, let's see, if I want to serve about 4 people and I want that to reduce, I'm probably going to want to put some more wine into that. So I can readjust my recipe here. Yeah, I'm going to want a little bit more wine. So let's start with that does smell good though, not gonna lie. So I could probably go for a full cup here. So I'm gonna add another half cup. That was the cork. So that means I'm gonna have to finish this bottle of wine before the evening is over. Either that or find a wine stopper. I kind of like my first option a little better. So that's a quarter cup. Yeah, I think we'll be able to finish that. Pardon me. Okay, I think that will probably do it, but just to be sure, I'm just going to add another third of a cup. So basically, doubling my recipe. And then I'm just going to let that sit. The thing is, I'm going to be reducing this. And since, while I wrote this recipe, I haven't had a chance to fully test it out yet. Big thing with cooking is being able to check flavors and test as you go. So Until I actually get this in the pan reducing, I'm not going to know exactly how it tastes and whether I need to adjust. So be patient with me as I'm doing that. So I'm just going to set that to the side for when we need it. So now that we have that in the oven and we have polenta to make, I'm going to first make myself a cocktail after I finish this beer. And then we're going to be making some stuff, some polenta. So, cheers. Cool. Let's see, I didn't use these, so they can go back. Oh, durga, 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 durga. Ooh, olives. I like olives. Right. So, I just realized I had some box Moscato. I can totally make myself a Moscato drink and still have Moscato to go along with the lamb. Okay then. So, let's see what I can make with that. I am curious. So, if we're going by other stuff that would be common, lemons were and are still a thing. So, let's make some kind of lemon Moscato drink. Liquor is not as much of a thing at the time. Though I imagine, in a fantasy RPG, they probably wouldn't worry about that too much. So, okay, so I've got a lemon here. As you see, I am just kind of pressing on it and going crazy with it so I can get the juice all good and mashed up. I see that my juicer is in the sink, so we're not going to use the standard juicer. We're going to use a citrus reamer to get our juice, and a measuring cup, because reasons. Okay. So, got that. Got my knife. My knife is right here. It is still, for the most part, clean, having only chopped up olives and dill. So I can just give that a quick rinse. Kind of tend to do sort of a take on a, what's it called, a martini. That seems very classy, right? And I'm also going to need to peel that. So let me just get my veggie peeler here. And I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of peeling, but try to get as little pith as possible. Which, as you can see, is a little difficult, so just angle out just a little more. The idea is to get a lemon twist. Yeah. I mean, considering that, well, I think I've got some olive juice too. Man, this is going to be stupid sour. Gin's not really a thing, I guess. Okay. So, get my citrus reamer. That was a bad idea. Seeds galore. Okay, maybe I can do this a little better by slicing up my wedges and then popping the seeds out before squeezing. Yeah, that works a little better. I mean, like I said, I'm no expert. I'm just kind of testing as I go along. especially since I've got time. Trust me. Okay. Okay, so about a lemon's worth of juice. Let's just... Whew. Cool. And now I just have to remember how to make a martini. I didn't say this was accurate. Okay, let's get those seeds out of there. Just gonna put that on that slice there to get rid of. All right. I mean, I'm learning things as just as much as you are. Yeah, get back here. Haha. Seeds. All right, so we've got our lemon guts. I'll just toss those out, leaving our peel. Okay, cool stuff. All right, so, I mean, wine was the thing, not really so much distillation, so I can't really use my vodka. I mean, I could, but All right, so we got about, I want to say, about 1.5 ounces of lemon juice from that. So I'm just going to add, let's go up to the, I want to say 1.5 ounces of, well, let's go with 2 ounces of Moscato. That's about 4.5 ounces, roughly. Wait, math. 1.5 ounces. It's about 4 ounces right now. So, I'm just gonna give that a quick taste. See how that goes. Okay, so far so good. However, since I'm using olives in this dish, let's pour in a little bit of olive juice. And use that clean spoon to add roughly a 1/2 ounce. So if you're using tablespoons, you would add about a tablespoon of that olive juice, since 1 ounce is roughly about 2 tablespoons. That's actually quite good. I like that. All right, and what the heck? Let's add a little vodka. That was about 1/2 ounce. And where is my vermouth? Do I really need vermouth? Let's see. No, but it could use some ice. So, just gonna grab a nice cube or 2, or 3. Pour that in there. And next, I'm just gonna make a little garnish using olive and fresh dill. So I'm just gonna grab myself a toothpick here. as well as an olive and a piece of lemon peel. Yeah. Do that sideways so it fits better. Yeah, get back here, dang it. Though, I'm just going to take a little sprig of fresh dill and just kind of stuff that into there. Or rather, there we go. There we go. And let's just kind of show you what that looks like from the side there. I think it's kind of pretty. Probably looks a little better, you know, from there maybe. I'm not really sure if you're seeing that correctly. But either way, cheers. Oh, that's delightful. Cool, so now that I've made myself a cocktail, I've got about 17 minutes left on that lamb, in the oven anyway. It's time I started working on my polenta. So, I'm just gonna clean that up really quick so I have a chopping board to put everything on. It's alright, it's just citrus juice. Gotta sanitize my board for me. Cool. Where are you? Haha. Have I mentioned that I haven't had dinner yet today? Well, now you know. So, oh good, my microphone is still working. Got my kosher salt, as well as my ingredients for my polenta, cornmeal, cheese, fresh dill, and milk. Let's switch cameras to my stove cam. Yes, indeed. And this is where I'm probably going to have to yell a little bit more. Do bear with me as I pour in our milk, as well as a couple pinches of kosher salt. Trust me, you're going to need that much. And the ingredient we haven't really gotten to yet, and that is unsalted butter. And here's hoping that I remember to actually get enough butter. God, I hope this is enough butter. All right, I needed 1/4 cup. Is that right? 2 tablespoons and 2 tablespoons. That's 4 tablespoons. Woo! Okay. So, you're gonna need 2 tablespoons total for the polenta. You're gonna need 2 tablespoons total for the, what's it called? Here, let's go to my prep board really quick here. For your sauce. To give you an idea, a tablespoon is about 3 teaspoons. So you're gonna need to add a teaspoon to our milk mix right there to melt. So I'm just gonna cut this into thirds, roughly. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then go to our stove cam, toss that in there, and start heating our milk up. And let's see here. So, yeah, I'm just gonna put that over medium heat. It's currently, yeah, it's over medium heat. And we just need to wait for that to 1, melt, but also 2, we need to have it start bubbling. And I don't mean the fact that it's kind of bubbly on top, no. It needs to be warm enough to kind of just get just under that kind of simmer. You don't want it to scald because it is milk. But it will do its thing, and it will take some time to do its thing. And that's okay, because we need time for it to do its thing. So, whew, yay cocktail. Right. We're doing things. Okay. Think we're doing okay? Think we're still here? Okay, good. Just making sure we have our camera bit on the Book of Faces and the Twitch. God, I hope I'm not. Okay. Yes, we are caught up. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Let's see, how is our milk doing? It's still melting. I may have started letting it do its thing too late. We'll be okay. So, durka 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 dur. Where did my cocktail go? Cocktail, cocktail, holy, holy cocktail. Oh, here it is. Whew. So yeah, this is a traditional recipe. When I usually make mamaliga, I make kind of a country-style mamaliga where it's this polenta that I'm about to make that you're going to see here. I usually don't go as rich on the polenta itself. I usually make it with just water, butter, and salt, and cornmeal, of course. However, this is a richer style, where the polenta itself is full of fat, and it is delicious, and it's also going to be full of herbs for this particular application. Which, while I'm waiting for it to melt and start bubbling, I realize that I need to get the dishes that I'm going to be shaping this with. That's right. This is going to be not only boiled, it's going to be shaped into kind of a dome ball type thing, sliced, and then that's going to be kind of our little dish to go along with our lamb ribs per portion. So that means instead of having one giant disc that I just slice, we're going to make this a little fancier because this is based off of essentially the fanciest restaurant in the Pathfinder universe. So with that in mind, let's do these. I kind of like the shape of them, and I think that's going to give us some interesting shapes here. So I'm just going to grab 4 of them. 4 of them. And let's just, am I still waiting on that to bubble? We are not bubbling yet. Okay. So, you see our dishes here? I'm just going to spray the inside of them with cooking spray so they're easy to invert in a little bit. That is not full. This is full. So I'm just going to spray this over the sink so I don't have cooking spray falling all over my floor and making me slip and break my hip. That would be bad. So we're not going to do that. Okay. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Cool. And now my hands are covered in cooking spray. It's okay though. Right, are we bubbling? Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, cauldron burn. Not quite yet, but that, oh, it's simmering around the edges just a little bit. So, you're gonna need now is a teaspoon, measuring spoon. That is delicious. Still waiting on the bubbling. Switch back to that camera so you can see what I'm doing. All right, was it a tablespoon? It is a tablespoon. Tablespoon. You need a tablespoon. Just gotta wait on the boiling, or the bubbling, or the things. It smells great though, I can tell you that. I'm just gonna add a few more pinches of kosher salt. Because reasons. I also think I'm a tolerant taster, so it usually takes me a little bit more salt to get the flavors I really want. Not to the point where just going, oh my god, this is too damn salty, but just to be able to have things balance out correctly. But, well, maybe not completely tolerant taster. Okay. Right. Cool. Oh, yeah, that is definitely bubbling. So, now I've done that, I add a tablespoon of my cornmeal to the mix and stir that in. Stir it in clockwise. Right. I'm trying to keep it from clumping, even though it's not really following my instructions. Might have had it a little too hot. Bubbling again. And now, just need to pour the whole mess of cornmeal in there at once. Don't need that anymore. So first, I'm going to set a timer for a minute. Try to stir that all in there. And we'll see how we do with the spatula. Not a spatula, whisk. Break that up a little bit more. Once you get that a little smoother, we can start going back to the spatula. I just want to get all of those lumps out of there. I want it to be as smooth as possible as we go along. Okay, we are ending our minute. And now I need to switch again. Because now we are adding the remainder of our butter and the cheese, and then turning down the heat to about medium-low. Yes. So cheese. Yeah, get in there. Herbs. About half of the herbs. And the remaining butter. In this case, it would be about a tablespoon and 2 teaspoons. So now, shut up. Oh wait, it was this one. I need to stir that vigorously on low heat for the next 10 to 15 minutes, or until this starts thickening and pulling from the sides of the pan. It smells freaking amazing in here. See, it's been about 2 minutes so far. Let's put about 8 minutes on here. Just gotta keep stirring, just keep stirring. Let's see, I hope we didn't. Okay, we're still going. Okay. Connection issues have me worried a bit. Okay. Yes, this is an arm workout. But yeah, we're not quite there because what we want is what we want it in kind of the consistency of a dough. And right now, it's very paste-like. We still have at least 6 or 7 minutes left to go. And about 45 seconds left to go on that lamb. So, just gonna move the butter here out of the way, move my cutting board back to here, and get my stuff ready. You don't want this to sit too long. All right, that is my lamb. Let's see how we're doing. Woo. It smells good. It looks good. I'm going to rotate the pan real quick, and I'm gonna let it cook for just another 5 minutes. Just because this is a larger portion of lamb than you're normally going to get in the grocery store. As you see, this is starting to kind of pull away a bit, but it's still not finished yet. But it smells freaking amazing. That I can confirm. And you notice how it's kind of getting that elasticity as we're going? Yeah. I'm doing kind of a turn and flip, as you can see. But as you can see so far, this is all pretty easy stuff. I mean, time consuming, yes. Ingredients that normally would kind of scare you, also yes. But for the most part, pretty darn easy. I mean, there's a reason why Mama Liga is considered a peasant's dish. Goodness, let's see how we're doing. Okay. And you notice it's a little easier to kind of flip like that. I'm able to do it. Okay. Oof. We are getting close to the end on this. I promise you. We want it to stick more to itself than we do the spatula or the pan. When it's incredibly sticky, that means there's too much moisture in it and you just have to cook it longer. Whew. Just a little bit longer. In the meantime, I'm just gonna check on that lamb and blow my nose. Because here, let me just mute it for a second. And I have dual timers going off. So first, point of order, let's get that lamb out of the oven and onto here where I have room for it. Ah, don't need you. Yes, polenta, I know. Whew, alrighty. Cool. That's been about 40 minutes in the oven at 225. Right, now that I've got that done, let's go back to our polenta. Do one final check on that. That is perfect. See how it's no longer sticking all that much to my spatula here? It is at that nice dough ball consistency that we are looking for. So, let's turn that off. And now it's time to switch to our cast iron pan. I need to put that on there and put it up to a medium-high heat. Or is it medium-low? What did I write down here? That needs to be up to medium-high. So that is doing its thing right there. Now we're just going to switch back to our prep cam and get our polenta divvied out. So, got my 4 cups here. Just gonna start scooping polenta into those cups. I want an equal amount in each cup. there, dang it. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, get back here. Stop being difficult. Good thing your cutting board's clean. You can just kind of eyeball it and make sure that you are equal on all of this. Smooth that all out. Let's see what needs more. You could use some more. You could use some more, and it's like tasty corn flavored Play-Doh. It's like if you've ever had grit cakes, it's kind of like that, but smoother, a lot smoother. Okay, so I'm just going to let that cool as I sear my lamb. Just need to check it if it's hot enough. Let's move this over here. Let it do its thing. I might need that. Just stick that to the side for now. Okay, I've got my lamb here. That is looking good, looking good. Let me just move it over here so you can see it for a second. Looks like I didn't get any drippings, but that's okay. I'm going to definitely get some drippings as I cook this, as I sear it. Yeah, definitely that fat's going to let off some. So, cool. I just need to make sure that my cast iron skillet is screaming hot. Let's just check on that real quick. Some cold water. Okay. And probably go a little hotter. You don't want it to be you want to be able to hold your hand over it for about a second, and that's about it. That's about screaming hot as you want to go. Oh, that is still delicious. Excellent. Right, so, as you can see, I've got my polenta cakes right here, and those suckers are cooling. Let's see, are we screaming hot yet? No, not yet. We are getting there, I promise. Oh boy. Right. Doing the thing. And watching the thing do the thing. More heat. But while I'm waiting, I can put some things away, like these olives. I don't need these olives anymore. So they're going back in the fridge because that's where they're living right now. It can take up roommates with the Mexican cheese. Oh, that's screaming hot. So, is this cool enough to handle? Holy crap, that is cool enough to handle. I'm going to stick my ribs, fat side down, on our cast iron skillet. And have that sear for about 3 minutes. I kind of want that fat to render a little bit more than what I have right now. So we're just going to let it do its thing for about 2 minutes. Feel free to take a pair of tongs and kind of hold that down some. Let it render that extra fat, because that's quite a fat cap you have there. And by rendering that fat off, you get some really nice tasty drippings to go along with your sauce. So, do the thing. I believe in you. And that is rendering out rather nicely there. Cool. Cool, cool. What are we doing there? That is searing very nicely. All right. And our polenta is, I am tempted. I'm going to throw it in the fridge. I need it to solidify a little bit more than what it's doing right now. Because I want to slice it. And I can't slice it unless it's solid enough to slice. So into the fridge it goes. Where are my tongs? Tongs. Besides, we still have some time that we need for the lamp to rest and then also make sauce. So, we're doing good. Right. Man, this smells good. Oh, that is a little too hot. Just gonna put that down and give that a flip for another minute. Maybe a little too burned. It'll be fine. That's about 30 seconds. And I'm just gonna sear that edge. Cool. Get those end caps. All right. Okay, it sounds... Let's see how we do. Hopefully that wasn't too long ago. The sound went out. So yeah, as you saw, I'm just cleaning as I go. I'm waiting right now for my sauce to reduce. Don't worry, I'm going to try to cut out the parts that you don't need. I put the polenta in 4 dishes that I've already greased with cooking spray. They are currently in the fridge because I need them to solidify enough to be able to slice to go along with our lamb ribs. The lamb ribs seared for about 2 to 3 minutes on the fat cap side to let it render out, with the other side being about a minute and a half total, trying to basically brown the bottom side as well as the end caps of those ribs. Next up, as you see, I had cooked the olives with a drizzle of olive oil with the drippings of the lamb for about 30 seconds before I poured in that mix of marinade and wine that I showed you earlier. That has been reducing. I'm trying to reduce it down to half so we can make our sauce. That is still, let's say that we're kind of getting close. Oh, hello. Okay, we're good. Yeah, we just want enough sauce to be able to drizzle over each portion of polenta there, and lamb. So once I get this reattached, maybe I'll be able to not have my microphone go out again. All right. Let's see. Okay, we're doing okay. Someday I will get a mic that's not gonna, go out on me about right before the end of the stream. How are we doing on time? We are still doing very well on time. We still got about 15 minutes left on our episode, which is good. No, this will probably not take you a full 2 hours to make. I mean, I find that not having to explain things kind of helps with that. But yeah, this is definitely reduced quite a bit. And looking good so far. So, just kind of give it a smell, see how we're going. Just gonna add, don't need to add that much salt left to it because those olives are gonna add a nice amount of salt content to that. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. All right. So I think it's probably time to turn off our heat, sprinkle in as much of our remaining dill as possible. I'm just gonna have a little bit left for some garnish. And what's left of our butter, which is about 2 tablespoons of butter. And that I'm just going to swirl around the pan until it is fully melted. I would say it's kind of similar to a beurre blanc sauce, but with olives and dill. And at this point, the sauce probably should have cooled enough by now to be able to taste where where it is. See if I need to add any salt or anything else. I might need to add a little bit of pepper, but I will see that in a minute. I'm just gonna take a tasting spoon here. 2 of them. Okay, it's good, but it does need a little bit of salt to brighten it up. So, and I would say a little bit more acid because that wine did get watered down a bit. So, for that, you're going to either want to add a little bit of vinegar of some kind, or I would say even add a bit more of that stone ground mustard. That way it acts a little bit of as an emulsifier to our sauce to help it thicken some. So, let's see. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now I just need to transfer that to somewhere that makes sense. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna pour what's left of my cocktail into here and transfer that sauce into this lovely measuring cup to cool. So let's just try to pour that in there. Over the sink because I'm not crazy. Well, I'm maybe a little crazy. Okay. Cast iron's very heavy. Yep. Come on. I'm just gonna pour that in. Give it a rinse. Ooh. And then you want 2 paper towels. First, to dry it off. Get all that water out of there. The second one, to season it after adding a very, very thin layer of cooking spray. And then you just kind of let that soak in with the heat that it has. Turn the fan off. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna get to the part with plating. And no, I'm not gonna put my mustard in my dish cabinet. That would be a very bad idea. But now I think my polenta, yes, my polenta is perfectly cool enough to slice up. So I'm just gonna take that out of the fridge. And since I only have so much room on this carving board, I'm going to get another cutting board, very small one out. To slice up my polenta. So just can kind of move this and push that back. Kind of. Might have to move the whole darn thing. Yep, I'm right. I'm gonna have to move the whole darn thing. Room for things. There it is. That'll work. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take one of these cups and invert it onto our tray here. Then with a sharp knife, I'm just going to slice it into about 1/2 inch thick slices. That is looking very pretty. Take a spatula. And then arrange that on my plate. This I'm going to do kind of a fan sort of formation. See? Do that with the next one. There we go. See how easy it is without being stupidly difficult? Or, I mean, it looks complicated, it looks fancy, but it's actually quite simple to do. So, once again, just gonna pull out a plate. All right. Take this, and then just start arranging in a pretty manner. And just to let you know, this polenta is still very warm. So if you were worried about it not being warm enough to serve, don't worry at all. It is the perfect temperature for serving right now. So I've got my serving plate for my photo. I'm just gonna grab that here. Yeah, I know it looks very modern, very kind of Art Deco-esque, but I think it'll work well for this whole Pathfinder recipe because once this is all arranged on here, it's gonna look super fancy and kind of avant-garde, a little slightly Victorian, which works well for where this restaurant is located. So once again, just gonna take another one of these polenta cakes and gonna slice that up. Grab our serving plate, a spatula, and just kind of fan that out. No, don't fall apart on me. Don't worry, we'll make this work. It'll be pretty, dang it. Go. So I still have another polenta cake to slice, but we're gonna hold on to that for another dish. Probably when my guest arrives later on tonight, if he arrives. No, not on the show. But, right, so now I need to slice up my lamb, which has been living underneath this thing of foil to keep it warm, which hopefully, oh yeah, that's still warm. Excellent. And I'm hoping against hopes, especially since I didn't have a thermometer with me. Which, by the way, if you were using a thermometer, you want it to get to about 125 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside, or about 130 at most. So I'm just going to slice with my knife here in between our ribs to try to get, oh, that looks perfect. Look at that. There we go. Come on. Try not to get the bone too much here. Ah, there it is. There we go. Ah, it's not cooperating with me right now. Where is that bone? Maybe. Yes, sometimes it will be difficult with you, like so. But patience. Trying to protect my knife as possible, even if that requires kind of slicing through the meat there. Where's that bone? Ah! What on earth is happening with this? Come on. There we go. Okay. Cool. Right. So now I just need to arrange our lamb on our plate. So let's just find the best looking ones we got here. This one, that one looks nice and juicy. That looks a little over rare, but still good. Oh yeah. So you want to do about 2 lamb ribs per plate. I think we're going to do those 2 on our main plate. And these, bit by bit, on our others. Oh, it's also pretty like that. All right. And finally, like I said, trying to oh, that's pretty. It's basically the 2 end caps, but no, let's do with these. Way. I'm trying to get my composition right with this, but it's not quite working for me. Oh, that looks nice. Yeah, let's do that. And now I just need to top it off with some sauce. So, kind of a food blogger tip. You don't want to launch on everything in that portion that you want to serve to a person in a photo. So I'm just going to take this olive butter sauce that I made, and I'm just going to find my little gravy ladle. Kind of drain out that excess sauce right there. Kind of get those olives as a nice garnish there. And then I want to take some sauce and just kind of drizzle it over the lamb. Nothing huge. Because, yeah, as much as I want all the sauce in the world on that, photos tend to not treat sauces unless they're super thick all that well. So once my photo is done, I can go absolutely crazy with sauce. So yeah, I've got a little bit of fresh dill left over, so I'm just going to use that to kind of brighten up the color on our dish a little bit more. Cool. And tell you what, just because I need an extra bit of garnish there, I'm going to add a few of those Kalamala olives so people can see in the photos what they are cooking. So, come on. Stop being ornery with me. Yeah, back here. Come on. Ha. Ha ha. All right, and now I'm just going to use a chopstick to remove some of these pitted olives. There we go. Kind of scatter them throughout the plate. That way I don't have too much excess liquid as I'm trying to stage this photo. Cool. And like I said, I'm just gonna add just a teeny bit more fresh dill for color. And there we go. A picture-perfect dish of lamb Caldoveri, inspired by the Dalian's restaurant from Pathfinder. So, I do hope that you enjoyed this episode of Munchies and Minis. I have no idea what I'm cooking next week, but it will be in a poll up on my Patreon, probably up tomorrow. This has been a recipe inspired by Pathfinder RPG. I'm tempted to either go Dungeons and Dragons or maybe back to I don't know, maybe Shadowrun. If you have any suggestions, feel free to message my page or comment on the video below. Comment on this video below. Anyway, stay tuned for, I want to say next Tuesday. I'll be back on Little Red Dot's channel playing North Sea Epilogues, and I will have a recipe inspired by said game. Luckily, hopefully by tomorrow. I just started my new job this week, so I've been running around like crazy. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Take care.